The movie starts with a man on a boat with his dad in the middle of the ocean. All of a sudden, he turns into a young child holding a fishing rod. The rod starts tugging, and the boat tips over into the ocean. The scene shifts to a man named Omer Venegas lying on his bed. Omer wakes up and realizes that it's a bad dream. Then a young boy enters his room and tells him that one of the kids named Tweety ran away from home. Afterward, Omer goes outside to find him in the streets. He finds Tweety sleeping in a slum area. Then, Omer holds Tweety and takes him back home. There he puts him back in his bed. It is revealed that Omer runs an orphanage named Casa Hogar in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico City. In the morning, the kids are running and playing soccer in the hallway, and Omer joins them too. Meanwhile, Omer's wife Becca stops them from playing as she has just mopped the floor. After that, Omer tells Becca that he is going to the city to get a few things for the truck. Moreover, he asks Becca what she needs for the kitchen. Becca asks him to bring eggs and onions. Hearing this, Omer says that he brought eggs a few days ago. Becca tells him that she needs to feed the kids. Then Omer suggests feeding something else to the kids as eggs are expensive. However, Becca taunts him and asks him to feed sand as that's what they can afford right now. Later, Omer goes into the room to see Tweety. He tells Tweety that his mother won't come back, so he shouldn't run away like this. After that, he tries to console Tweety by giving him a nail. Then he tells Tweety that it's a miracle nail and that it helps him get through hard times. Moreover, Omer advises Tweety to write his problems on a piece of paper and use the nail to hammer it onto a door. This way, he believes that God will help him overcome his problems. In the afternoon, a policeman visits the orphanage to meet Omer. The policeman brings a boy named Moko. He tells Omer that Moko was caught stealing a fisherman's watch. Then the policeman asks Omer to retrieve the watch from him. Omer engages in a conversation with the boy. To gain Moko's trust, Omer tells him about a delicious dish that his wife cooks. Eventually, Moko hands the watch over to Omer. Then Omer proposes that Moko can accompany him to return the watch and apologize to the fisherman. Otherwise, he would have to go with the policeman. Eventually, Moko agrees to go with Omer. Later, Omer and Moko get into the truck, with Tweety also accompanying them. On their way, Omer offers Moko the chance to join his orphanage, Casa Hogar. However, Moko refuses, saying that he doesn't need anyone to look after him. Then, Omer proceeds to ask Moko why he stole the watch. In response, Moko explains that he wanted to buy Nike shoes with red laces and a red hat. Omer gives the boy some advice, suggesting that he should focus on doing the right things rather than trying to impress others. Omer believes that through hard work, Moko can achieve what he wants in life. Moko responds by saying that he doesn't want to end up as miserable as Omer. On the other side, a fisherman named Wade sits with a tournament manager named Gary in his boat. Wade is an arrogant and unfriendly man who has won the Bisbee fishing tournament twice. He brags about his trophies to Gary and boasts that he's a great fisherman. It becomes evident that Gary has come to make a deal with Wade. Thus, Gary tells Wade that he wants him to catch a fish named Marlin for one of the captains participating in the competition. This makes Wade angry, and he firmly states that he will never be part of cheating. Then he angrily tells Gary to leave his boat. After a few minutes, Omer and Moko arrive. Omer returns the watch, but Wade becomes furious upon seeing Moko. He demands Omer to leave the place. Omer requests Wade to give Moko a chance to apologize. He explains to Wade that he wants to teach Moko to take responsibility for his actions. However, Wade doesn't listen and orders them to leave. Meanwhile, Moko runs away from the place. Afterwards, a radio announcer informs that a storm is expected to hit Cabo San Lucas tonight. Inside Casa Hogar, the kids are enjoying their dinner. After a while, Omer informs them about the upcoming storm. He urges them not to be afraid and assures them that they will do everything they can to protect their home. He also mentions that their orphanage has received a donation of 500 sandbags. They can place these bags around the building to protect from flooding. At night, Becca holds one of the kids who is scared of the thunderstorm. The kid tells Becca that he is worried about his friends who live on the street. Then the other boys mention that a lot of kids are still on the street, while they are lucky to have shelter. Suddenly, a thunderstorm strikes and all the kids become scared. However, Becca starts singing a song to calm them down. Meanwhile, Omer reminisces about his childhood memories. It is revealed that Omer was also an orphan and lived on the street when he was a child. Later, Omer has another nightmare during sleep, and he sees himself drowning. When he wakes up, he realizes that it's morning already, and water has entered the house. Then, Omer receives a call from the bank, informing him that he has only 1 week to return the loan. This distresses Omer, as he didn't receive any kind of donation. Then Omer goes to a nearby harbor office. Everyone there is busy preparing for the city's grandest fishing competition. Chaos ensues as some international teams decide not to participate due to the storm alert. Omer waits to meet the founder of the competition named Wayne. He is busy on calls, personally trying to convince the competitors not to back out. Moreover, he confirms that he won't cancel the competition. After a while, Omer gets the chance to talk with Wayne and tells him that water has entered their orphanage. Thus, he needs a vacuum pump to remove it. Furthermore, Omer tells Wayne that he has taken a $117,000 loan from the bank. Now they are asking him to return it within 30 days, otherwise, they will take their orphanage building. Thus he asks Wayne to talk with the bank on his behalf to convince them to give him more time. Wayne assures him that he will try his best to help him. After a while, Wade enters the office and meets with Wayne to join the competition. Wayne tells Wade that he doesn't qualify to enter the competition. Despite this, Wade continues to insist that Wayne waive his entry fee and add his name to the list. Then Wade brags that he has won the competition twice, so he deserves to be on the list. Meanwhile, Wayne tells Wade that he can't go against the rules. Wade then suggests that Wayne should add a local fisherman to the team so that he can qualify. This gives an idea to Wayne, and he writes the Casa Hogar name on the list. Wayne does this to allow Omer, even though Omer and his kids have never gone fishing in their lifetime. Later, Wade arrives at Casa Hogar and tells Omer about the competition. Then he proposes a deal to Omer to participate in the competition as a local fisherman, and in return, they will split the prize money. Being confused, Omer discusses the offer with Becca. He is skeptical and mentions that it might be a waste. However, Becca suggests that he should take this opportunity to raise money for the orphanage. As a result, Omer decides to accept Wade's offer. Next week, Omer goes to the tournament along with 3 boys named Hollywood, Gecko, and Wiki. There, Omer sees Moko and asks him to join his team, and eventually, he agrees. Hollywood expects that Captain Wade will have a fancy speedboat since he has won the championship twice. However, it turns out that Wade has an extremely old boat that barely starts properly. Despite this, they get aboard where Wade introduces them to his friend Chato, who has been with him for 11 years. Afterwards, Wade informs the boys that they should not talk or touch anything without his permission. Then he explains that the organizers have requested him to choose one of the boys to handle the reeling. Thus he selects Omer for the task. Wade assures Omer that he will teach him how to reel properly. After that, Wade returns to his cabin. A few minutes later, Omer enters the cabin and tells Wade that he cannot do the reeling. Then he suggests that he should let Moko handle the reeling so he can feel like a part of the team. Surprisingly, Wade agrees to Omer's suggestion. Additionally, Omer asks Wade to be honest with the boys about the competition. As a result, Wade emerges from his cabin and informs Moko that he will handle the reeling. Then he tells the boys that the competition spans 3 days and the main focus is on catching a big marlin to win the competition. Wade acknowledges that fishing can be unpredictable and challenging, but he encourages the boys not to lose hope and to give their best effort. After a few hours, some of the boys feel seasick and start vomiting. Meanwhile, Omer talks with Moko to learn more about him. Moko tells Omer that he isn't an orphan and that his mother lives in Texas. Curious, Moko asks Omer to share information about his parents. Omer explains that he doesn't remember his mother, but he recalls seeing his father on a fishing boat during their last encounter. Sadly, the boat flipped, and his father died in the accident. Later, they all enjoy tacos and Omer invites Wade to join them. The boys request that Wade share the story of how he won the tournament last time. Suddenly, they hear the unwinding sound of the fishing reel. Immediately, Wade instructs Moko to take a seat and handle the rod. Filled with excitement, Wade asks Chato to contact the tower, believing it's a marlin. To their surprise, it turns out to be seaweed tangled in the hook. As a result, the first day of the competition comes to an end, and they haven't managed to catch a marlin. Afterwards, Omer asks Moko to stay at Casa Hogar, but he refuses. On their way back home, Wiki asks about the call from the bank. Then he wonders if they will have to return to the streets. Omer tells him not to worry about that matter. Upon arriving home, they discover that Omer's old friend named Hector has come to visit. Hector warmly greets Omer and mentions that he saw Omer and his team on TV. Moreover, Hector brings tournament t-shirts for Omer and his team, and they thank him. Later, Hector invites Omer to a bar to hang out. There, Omer asks Hector why he suddenly decided to meet him after 10 years. Hector proposes to help Omer pay off his loan if he agrees to work for him again. However, Omer refuses to engage in illegal activities. The next morning, the second day of the tournament begins. They all board the boat, and Wade asks Wiki to handle the reeling for the day. Wade shares that he has a son who is the same age as Wiki. He explains that his son lives with his mother in Dallas. During their talk, they hear the unwinding sounds of the reel and rush toward it. Wade instructs Wiki to take a seat and start reeling. This time, they realize it's a big fish, and Wade encourages Wiki to keep pulling the reel. Meanwhile, Moko gets into an argument with Gecko, leading to a fight that accidentally causes both of them to fall into the water. Omer shouts to Wade for assistance. Eventually, Wade jumps into the water to rescue the boys. Despite their efforts, they fail to catch the fish. Wade becomes furious and starts yelling at Gecko and Moko. Then Omer intervenes, asking him to calm down since they are just kids. Unfortunately, they are unable to catch a fish, and the second day comes to an end. Upon returning home, Omer once again asks Moko to stay at Casa Ogar, and this time Moko agrees. Later that night, Tweety informs Omer that he drew a picture of Captain Wade and asks Omer to nail the drawing to the door. After a while, Omer goes to Wade's boat and tells him that he has brought food. They begin their conversation, and Wade shares stories about his wife and son. Then he mentions that he is a terrible father. However, Omer encourages him not to think that way. Omer advises Wade to spend time with his son, as trophies are not as important as a father's presence. During their conversation, Omer accidentally mentions the bank. After that, he hands Tweety's drawing to Wade and left. At midnight, Wade arrives at Casa Ogar and brings a 270-pound marlin. He explains that a local fisherman caught it, and they can use it to secure at least second or third place in the competition. Omer is shocked and tells him that this is cheating. However, Wade argues that there is no other way to win the competition. Meanwhile, Moko overhears their entire conversation. The next day, they all board the boat. Wade tries the fish at the back of the boat underwater. As they reach the middle of the ocean, Wade asks Chato to distract the boys. He then asks Omer to attach the fish to the fishing line. However, Omer feels guilty and pushes the fish into the water. Eventually, they all realize that they almost lose the competition. Then Omer stands up and thanks Captain Wade for providing them with a wonderful opportunity. Further, he mentions that they should always choose the right path, whether it works or not. This distresses the boys as they come to realize that they might have to return to living on the streets. Suddenly, they hear the fishing reel making a noise. They rush to the rod. This time, Wade asks Omer to hold the rod and tells him to focus. They realize there's a big marlin caught on the hook. The excitement grows, and Chato contacts the tower. Everyone is alert, waiting for the Casa Ogar team to reel in the fish. The situation becomes intense, and Omer feels like giving up, but Wade keeps encouraging Omer, reminding him to do it for the boys. Finally, Omer successfully catches a 384-pound marlin, making them the winners of the Bisbee Black and Blue competition. Later, Captain Wade goes back to Dallas to live with his son. Meanwhile, Omer uses the prize money to pay off the loans and make his orphanage bigger. This way, Omer achieves his goal of giving a home to many homeless kids.